For 3 years, I believed my husband had a harmless Sunday routine. Every Sunday morning, he dressed carefully, kissed me goodbye, and left the house for several hours. Then one Sunday, he accidentally left his phone on the kitchen counter, and a woman called asking if he was already on his way. I did not confront him. I simply wrote down the address she mentioned. What I discovered there did not just expose my husband's secret, it made me question everything I thought I knew about the man I had married. For 3 years, I believed my husband had a harmless Sunday routine. Every Sunday morning, he dressed carefully, checked his phone several times, and left our house before noon. Whenever I asked where he was going, he gave me the same simple answer. He needed some quiet time, and he usually went for a drive or visited an old friend. I never had a reason to doubt him. We had been married for 11 years, and I thought I knew his habits better than anyone. But one Sunday, a single phone call turned that confidence into suspicion. And within hours, my entire understanding of our marriage began to collapse. Before I tell you what I found at that address, stay with me until the end, because the final part of this story changed the way I looked at trust, marriage, and forgiveness. If you enjoy emotional stories where hidden truths finally come to light, you can subscribe and continue watching. My husband Daniel and I had built what looked like an ordinary life. We had a comfortable home, steady jobs, and a daughter who had recently started college. Daniel was quiet, responsible, and rarely caused arguments. That was one reason I never imagined he could be hiding something serious from me. His Sunday routine started shortly after he changed jobs. At first, he said Sundays were the only time he could meet someone about a personal project. I accepted that explanation because I trusted him. Over time, however, I noticed small details that did not make sense. He always wore his best shirt, used a different fragrance, and became unusually protective of his phone. I tried not to become the suspicious wife who searched for problems that did not exist. Whenever Daniel returned home, I asked how his afternoon had gone, and he always gave me vague answers. Sometimes he said he had met an old friend. Other times he claimed he had simply driven around and cleared his head. I wanted to believe him because our marriage had survived difficult years together. We had struggled financially, raised our daughter, and supported each other through family problems. So I convinced myself that his Sunday habit was nothing important. Then one Sunday morning, everything changed when Daniel rushed out of the kitchen and accidentally left his phone behind. I hesitated before answering because I thought it might be an emergency. A woman immediately asked whether Daniel was already on his way. Her voice sounded familiar with him, as though this was not their first conversation. I told her that he had just left. There was a long silence before she gave me an address and said she would see him there. I quickly wrote the address on the back of a grocery receipt. Then I put the phone exactly where Daniel had left it. For the next hour, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at that piece of paper. My first thought was that I should call Daniel and demand an explanation. My second thought was that I needed to know the truth before confronting him. I drove toward the address alone. It was in an older neighborhood about 40 minutes from our house. When I arrived, I parked several houses away and watched from inside my car. Daniel eventually arrived. He got out, walked toward a small house, and looked around carefully before knocking. My heart was beating so hard that I could barely think. Then the door opened, and I saw the woman from the phone call. The woman was not young, glamorous, or someone I would have expected to be involved in a secret relationship. She looked tired and worried. Daniel hugged her briefly before helping her carry a box inside. I almost drove away because what I was seeing did not look like an affair. But something still felt wrong. A few minutes later, an older man appeared at the doorway. Daniel immediately became emotional. I could not hear their conversation, so I waited. Then the older man looked directly toward my car. Daniel turned around as well. For one terrifying moment, I thought they had discovered me. Instead, Daniel walked toward my car with tears in his eyes. Daniel opened the car door and stood there without speaking. Finally, he told me the truth he had been hiding for 3 years. The woman was his sister, whom he had never told me about because of a painful family conflict. The older man was their father, who had been seriously ill. Daniel had been secretly visiting them every Sunday because his father had asked him to keep the situation private. The reason Daniel had hidden the entire family from me was not another woman or another marriage. Years earlier, his father had abandoned their family and caused tremendous damage. Daniel believed I would judge him for secretly helping the man who had once hurt his mother. I was relieved that Daniel had not been cheating, but I was also devastated that he had kept such an enormous secret from me. I asked him why he had never trusted me enough to tell me the truth. He admitted that he was ashamed of the relationship with his father and afraid that I would think he was betraying his mother. Then his sister came outside and apologized for the phone call. She explained that their father had only a short time left and wanted to see Daniel before it was too late. Suddenly, the hidden address no longer felt like the location of a betrayal. It felt like the place where an old family wound was finally being confronted. Daniel and I went inside together. His father apologized for the pain he had caused years earlier, and Daniel finally allowed himself to say everything he had carried for decades. I watched the man I had married forgive someone who had hurt him deeply, and I realized that the secret was not what I had feared. The real lesson was about how fear can make people hide even from the person they love most. Daniel should have trusted me with the truth, but I also understood why he had been afraid. We left that house together, and for the first time in 3 years, there was no secret Sunday waiting between us. That Sunday taught me something I will never forget. Sometimes the truth we fear the most is not the truth that destroys us. Sometimes it is the truth that finally explains everything. Trust cannot survive without honesty, but forgiveness can sometimes give people a second chance to rebuild it. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more emotional stories about family, betrayal, truth, and unexpected karma. The strongest ending is not revenge. It is emotional karma. Daniel spent 3 years hiding the truth because of the pain his father had caused. When the truth finally came out, the person he feared would judge him became the person standing beside him. Karma, the secret that Daniel thought would protect his family, almost destroyed his marriage, forcing him to finally face the consequences of hiding the truth.